जीवन का सफर तुम्हारे अंदर से शुरू हुआ था और तुम्हारे अंदर ही आकर के समाप्त हो गया। चैतन्य क्या है? कोई भी चीज आप संसार में जानेंगे वो आपके चैतन्य से ही शुरू होती है, एक प्रश्न के रूप में, और उत्तर भी आपको उस प्रश्न का अपने चैतन्य में मिलेगा, कहीं और नहीं मिलेगा। तो अनुभव को प्राप्त करो कि सत्य क्या है। अगर आप सत्य के प्रतीक हैं, सत्य की वजह से आपका संसार में जन्म हुआ है, तो इस सत्य को जरूर समझो। तो अभी हम बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं आप सबके कि आप लोग अपने समय को निकाल करके यहाँ आए। और यहाँ पर बहुत लोग हैं जो इस हिंदी भाषा को समझ नहीं सकते, तो थोड़ा सत्संग इंग्लिश में भी होगा, लेकिन इंग्लिश में सत्संग होने से पहले एक भजन होगा, तो भजन मंडली एक भजन को रखे और फिर आगे सत्संग इंग्लिश में होगा। देयर विल बी सत्संग इन इंग्लिश ऑल्सो, सो प्लीज बी पेशेंट। दैट्स द फर्स्ट स्टेप यू लर्नड इन द पाथ ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिटी, टू बी पेशेंट। सो कांग्रेचुलेशंस टू ऑल ऑफ यू, बट देयर विल बी अ भजन सो दैट एवरीवन वेक्स अप एंड देन वी कैन हैव सत्संग इन इंग्लिश।
सच्चिदानंद गुरुदेव को जय। विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो, विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो, अर्को साला सजिलाई लेरे आउनु। हे 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 विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो, विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो, अर्को साला सजिलाई लेरे आउनु, अर्को साला सजिलाई लेरे आउनु। विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो, विभूजी महाराज एकले नावनो,
dear Premis, respected Baijis, respected guests, and all the people, the seekers of truth that have gathered here from different countries and from different parts of America. Today, with the grace of Guru Maharaji, we are very fortunate to be a part of this congregation, to be a part of this program, where we are connected with the truth. That is the meaning of satsang, where an individual puts in effort to be connected with the truth. See, life is lived with different perspectives. And the correct perspective to live life must be understood. If the filter to our spirit, the mind, is not understood, then it becomes very difficult to access that part of yourself that is beyond time, beyond any distinguishing and divisions. So our sages says the spirit is eternal, but to understand that eternal part of yourself, you must first understand the capabilities of the mind and learn to utilize the capability of this mind. So the mind is a very powerful tool given to us. But like all great things, if this power is not utilized correctly, then this mind can also generate a lot of restlessness, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain in all our lives. See, the main goal of life is to live a satisfied life. No matter what I do in my life, at the end of the day, we are all seeking satisfaction through the efforts that we put in our life. Now, if the efforts that we put into our life are not making us satisfied, are not making us happy, then the question fundamentally we have to ask ourselves is, what are we doing in life and how are we living it? So the perception of life must be clear. The objective of life must be clear. Now, as spiritual beings, we live in a very finite world. All the influences of the world are governed by time. There's a very wise Tibetan saying that says that man says that time passes away, but time laughs and says it's man that passes away. If you see, it is so true. All our lives we live our lives complaining, oh my God, I do not have time. If I had time, I could do this, I could do that. But in turn, time has its own perspective. Time is like, I am always stationary in this world. It is man that is born, it is you that is born, and you live for a certain time and you pass away. So it is not that I am going anywhere, you come into this world and you live this world and go. Now, if we have this opportunity to experience life, to experience this marvelous creation around us, this creation filled with infinite possibilities, there has to be a reason why this creation exists. There has to be a purpose of creation itself. And if creation has given us this gift of consciousness to be able to see, to be able to listen, to be able to observe life and absorb life, then automatically, fundamentally, my consciousness or my objective in life has to be understood. See, today, when we walked into this program, and if you would see the pamphlets that have been distributed, the topic of discussion that was supposed to be the topic of discussion was that where science ends, spirituality begins. Now, this is also a perspective that we must understand. Many people say there is a division between science and spirituality. And this division probably has lasted ever since that science has come into being. Because science has its own way of looking at creation, and spirituality has its own way or own thesis of looking at creation. But if you fundamentally understand the objective of both the paths, the objective of both the paths is to understand our place in this cosmos. Is our place in this universe, why are we here? And that is why we are fundamentally asking the question as to how this creation is created, how human beings are created. Now fundamentally, when you ask the question, how is the world created, science is at the foremost of making you explain how the universe came into being, How is a human being born into this world? What are the complicated processes that happen so a human being is born into this world? So the how can be explained by the science very scientifically, and science will answer the how in very distinctive manner. But if you ask a scientist, why was this universe created? Why was I born? Science itself has the answer of the how, but does not have the answer of the why. And that is where your spiritual journey begins. Where as a spiritual being, we ask ourselves, okay, I understand how this universe was created, but why was this universe created? That is the fundamental question that spirituality answers. So science and spirituality are not different. Even in our Vedic times, the people who understood the Vedic truths were scientists of those times. They were scientists of the internal self, not the external self. Because they said that to answer the why, one cannot be external in life. One has to focus its mental energies, the capabilities, the intuition, all the powers of the mind has to be concentrated within. And then the path that they found that goes within is through their consciousness. But if we are conscious beings, like how Descartes said that I think, therefore I am. Meaning, if I think, if I have the capability of thought, that means I exist. But what is giving this human body the capability of thinking? If you take the human breath out of the body, is the body capable of thinking? Is the body capable of doing? Is the eye capable of seeing? Is the mouth capable of speech? Is the ear capable of listening? No. All the bodily functions that we are so proud of as a human being, that I can do this, I can do that, my brain can think, I have all these beautiful gifts given to me. All these fundamental gifts are only working. Why? Because as conscious beings, if we are breathing, then we are alive. And if we are not breathing, we are not alive. Our existence is no more. So our sages says that fundamentally the way to your consciousness, the way of understanding yourself, the way of understanding your spiritual nature lies within what? Your breath. If the breath is not understood, the simple vibration that is inhalation and the exhalation of breath, if this vibration ceases to be, then everything that we know or everything that we have achieved ceases to be. So one of the most important aspects of understanding ourselves is the breath. But the breath we take for granted. We think I'm going to live forever and there's nothing in this world that can stop me from experiencing this life. But at the end of the day, the moment we were born into this world, the aspect of duality is that this world, this life will come to an end one day or the other. The moment we were born, because we were born, there is an end. So the dual nature of this world will teach us that this body will cease to be at one point of time. But our sages try to explain to us that man is not only the body. Man is not only the flesh, but something greater than that. And how do you understand that? So in the Bhagavad Gita, a very simple step-by-step process is try to explain to us how an individual can understand his own self. So what does the Bhagavad Gita say? That greater than the senses is the body. Meaning we are all beings that live through our senses. The senses is the gifts through which we interact with the world. We exchange energies with the world. If I touch something hot, my senses will tell me that the burn on my finger tells me, the pain on my finger tells me that this thing is hot. If I touch something cool, the sensation on my fingers tell me it is cold. In the same way, my interaction are based on my senses. But the senses is not your totality. It is an aspect of you. So what is greater than the senses? Once you overcome the senses, do not focus on only the senses, then you come to the body. But they say body is also not your totality. Greater than the body is the mind. Because what is governing the senses in our body, what is governing the body, what is making the body move is the mental abilities. Our bodies are not automated things that they are working on our own. The mind enables the body to perform certain functions that we want to perform. So the mind is also an aspect that has to be understood. But they say the mind is not only the aspect of your body. Greater than the mind is the spirit. And in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that even the spirit is not your totality. Greater than the spirit, Lord Krishna says, is I. I am the totality of all this cosmos together. So the transition of life is that you have to change your perspective of living. If we are only attached to the senses, we will remain sensory beings. If we are only attached to the body, we will remain physical beings. If we are only attached to the mind, we will only be mental beings. We are fulfilling all our mental needs, but we are not progressing beyond that. But if you go greater than the mind, then you come to the realm of the spirit. The realm of spirituality opens. But there is a further step that has to be taken, where the dissolution of the individual spirit has to be in union with the cosmic spirit. Just like when a river flows into the sea, what is happening? The river is sacrificing its individual self. And because it sacrifices its individual self, it merges in essence with the sea. Now, if I take you to the sea and I tell you ki distinguish between what water or what droplets belong to the river and what belongs to the sea, it is impossible. And you will say why it can't be possible, and if I ask why cannot it be possible, because you will say that in essence the two have become one. So when a person is still trapped within the I self, where you say, oh, I am the spirit, you are still creating a distinction between the cosmic spirit and your individual spirit. There will always be a distance, there will always be a gap. We haven't reached the ultimate truth. But when you dissolve this I, that becomes the barrier, the ego that becomes the barrier, the mind not being utilized properly is the ego. See, a lot of people have this notion that ego is very evil, that ego is bad. But I would like to clear it that nothing is good or bad in life. It is how we utilize certain things, and our intention of utilizing it is good or bad. Now I'll give you a very small and simple example. You take a seed of a mango. Have you seen it, how it is? It is very hard on the outside. Now if I ask you, why is the shell of a mango seed so hard? So some wise person will tell me that it is because that when you plant the mango seed into the ground, maybe it is not the right time for the seed to sprout. So that hard shell protects the infinite potential of that seed to turn into a mango tree, hence give us many more mangoes. But if there is too much water around and the seed breaks, then what will happen? Too much water will dilute the potential. It will kill the potential. If there is too much sun out, what will happen? If the seed is open, it doesn't have that hard exterior shell, then what is inside is open to all the extremities of the weather. And the potential itself is so delicate that it cannot survive the extremities of the weather. So what does that hard shell do? The hard shell protects the potential within. And slowly, when the right season comes, what happens? The internal potential discards the external self. So there is a time in your life when ego is very important. Meaning, what is ego? To discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. What is dharma, what is adharma. What is righteousness and what is non-righteousness. But if I don't have that division, then how is it possible that I've even come to this program? If I didn't know this program is good or bad for me, or if I didn't have the ability to make that choice, I would be sitting at home and still thinking, should I go to the program? Should I not go to the program? Should I go to the program? Should I not go to the program? And half your time, we are doing this. Should I take this step forward? Should I not take this step forward? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And this is what's happening to all of us in our spiritual realm. Should I take the leap of faith? Should I not take the leap of faith? Should I accept knowledge? Should I not accept knowledge? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Till this definition is not clear what I have to do, you cannot move forward in life. And that is where ego comes in. Certain times to make a clear decision, this is what the path I have to take, this conviction is enforced by ego. But slowly as your conviction gets right, as slowly as your intelligence gets stronger, then the ego is not required. Why? Because when you are living your life with wisdom, then the true potential from within you must sprout out. Because your potential lies within you. Just like the potential of the mango tree lies within the seed of the mango. It doesn't lie elsewhere. In the same way, what happens is that our true potential is then enhanced by the wisdom that we collect of the world, the intelligence that we collect of the world. But if you do not let go of the ego at the right time, then what will happen? Then ego is a negative force in our life. But it is very difficult to let go. Why? Because we are all beings of habit. We are habitual beings. Meaning that whatever we keep on doing again and again becomes easier to do again and again. And sometimes when we live our life with ego, detaching it at the right time becomes very difficult. Why? Because we have a habit of always thinking, I know what is right because this is the way I am living. And sometimes in spirituality, this I know everything cannot exist. Because there is no person in this world who can say, I know everything. This universe is infinite and we are finite beings in this body. This body and this mind is not capable of knowing everything. Because if it was capable of knowing everything, a lot of human beings who've come before who are very egoistic would have known everything already. But man is still searching for its origin. We as individual beings, despite having Google at our fingertips, despite having the encyclopedic knowledge of the world at our fingertips, we still do not know everything. There is still so much mystery of this universe that is still hidden from us. There is mystery of consciousness that is hidden for us. And these things cannot be written in words, cannot be explained. These things have to be experienced in life. So what happens is, as beings of intelligence, once you have the capability of deciding what is right and what is wrong for yourself, ego has to be cut down out of the life. Just like the seed will only grow once it detaches from the outer hard shell. The outer hard shell is the ego. So the ego has to be detached. If the ego is not detached, if that I self is not detached, then what is your potential of finding yourself cannot be achieved. So one must constantly make effort in life through different circumstances and situations to slowly, detach from egoistic thoughts. Thoughts that bind us, thoughts that create negativity in us, thought that does not let us fulfill our potential. And we all know what that thoughts are. Anger in me is not good. Hate towards another person is not good. Pride in my accomplishment is not good. And all these things can slowly be detached when fundamentally you focus within your breath. Because the moment you're focusing within your breath, there is a churning of intelligence that will happen within you. Gautam Buddha was also sitting under a tree. There was no voice in his head telling him what to do. Like many people have voices in their head to tell them what to do. It's a very American phenomena that is still not happening in India as of yet. But there was no voice in his head. There was no voice elsewhere telling him what to do. He was dedicated into finding his answers of his own question. With dedication came wisdom. Now the thing is, if I am not dedicated in this quest of finding myself, then what will happen? 2 days I meditate, the third day I take rest. There is no taking rest in spirituality. We have to keep on moving forward. We have to keep on questioning ourselves. And when we question ourselves, then we find the answers to ourselves also. So it is a constant effort which happens day in and day out. From the moment we start breathing till the moment we'll stop breathing, the quest of finding yourself must not end. And when you have this dedication, this force pushing you forward, then finding the answers to your questions becomes very easy. Because the focus of the mind is one-pointedness. This is what on Thursday when we had gone to Casadega also, few premies were here with us. This is what even Don was trying to explain. The power of the breath, because once the mind is focused into the breath, then all the mysteries of the universe is slowly unfolded in front of us. We as beings of intelligence understand our purpose, we understand our origin, hence we understand our destination. I was taking notes though. So it's very important to get the perspective right. Now most of the time we live in a world where the problem of today's world is what? It's not that I have suffering in my life. The problem of today's world or suffering of today's man is that my neighbor has more happiness than I have. We've changed our perspective of living. When I'm always looking at what some other person has or doesn't have, I will always be unsatisfied. Now I have to remove this focus of the mind and focus on what I have and what I can experience in my life. That is the objective of living. God as the creator has given us equal opportunity in the eyes of spirituality. We are all conscious beings and we are breathing. That's all we need to find ourselves. We don't need a fast car to find ourselves. We don't need a big house to find ourselves. These are all physical needs. The physical needs are limitless. There is no end to it. Many people find happiness in marriage. Many people find happiness in bachelorhood. How do you know where does happiness lie? It's the greatest mystery. So at the end of the day, you have to be focused in your spiritual nature to find your spiritual self. You cannot be focused in the worldly natures of things because duality is the greatest trap of the human mind. When you start living in duality, there is nothing that duality, nothing in this world that can satisfy you in this world of duality. Today you have a thing, you are happy. Tomorrow the absence of that thing will make you sad. Now when we are also moving on, we are also temporary beings in this universe. Everything that I possess is also bound by time. How can everything I possess remain forever if my body or my experience is also not forever? So automatically the trap of duality is what? The trap of time. If I think possession of this thing will give me eternal happiness, it won't. Because that thing that you possess is not gonna be there eternally. It is also bound by time. Now what is not bound by time is you have to understand within yourself what is not bound in you, what is that aspect of you that is not bound in time. So the immediate way of understanding these truths is change the perspective with how you live. That is the mental thought or the power of the mind that must be utilized. And changing your perspective is how? Do it in a positive way. There was a person, like one day a wife got up, found in the middle of the night the bed was empty, husband is missing. So she goes out, she switches on the room lights, husband is not there. She goes down, she sees the husband is sitting with a cup of coffee, with a very sad thought in his face. He's staring at the wall, he's just lost in his thought. The room is dark, so the wife switches on the light, comes very closely, sits next to her husband, and she very politely asks, like, what is it that you are thinking of? I see you here in the middle of the night, staring at the wall, your coffee cup has gone cold, there's something bothering you, can you share that with me? So the husband says, oh, do you remember 14 years ago, you were 18 years old and that's when we met. So the wife, is like very taken aback. She's like, yes, I remember everything. 14 years ago, we met for the first time. And he's like, then we kept on meeting each other. And one day I got caught, by your father, my father-in-law, who was a judge. So she said, yes, I remember, like few months, us dating. One day, my father caught us. He's like, that day, your father threatened me that if you don't marry my daughter, I will lock you up for 14 years of your life. Because in India, one of the maximum sentence you get is 14 saal ki jail, 14 years of life. So she said, yes, I remember, and you married me. So he was like, I was just thinking that if I hadn't married you, then my 14 years of jail time will be getting over tonight, and I would be free. So the thing is, if you have perspective of the negative sort, then at the end of the day, you are not getting anywhere. What is in life is the greatest gift of God is this present moment. What you can have, what you will not have is just waste of your mental energies. Because at the end of the day, God has given us this gift here and now to realize ourselves. But how do we spend the here and now? We think about, oh my God, I could have done this, but I didn't do it. You are living your life with regret. Regret will not take you anywhere. Forget about all the mistakes you made in your life. Forget about all the chances that have gone by. This moment is the greatest chance for you to gain it all back again. But if you keep on thinking about the missed chances, then this present is again a missed chance. This is the trap of the mind. If you think about the future, I will travel to India and I will gain wisdom there. First of all, you didn't lose yourself in India. If I was born in America and I lost myself in America, then in America or in these circumstances, I have to find myself. It's as simple as that. You lose your house keys within your car. Where will you find them? Not inside your house. It's logical. If your keys were lost, you were driving and your keys fell out of your pocket in your car and they went under the seat. You can search your house. You can go to your friend's house where you are having dinner. You can search his house. You can, search each and every inch of the earth or the highway that takes you from your friend's house to your house. Will you find the keys there? No. The keys were left in your car. If you do not search your car, you will never be able to find your keys. In the same way, what have we lost? What are we finding? That is the question we have to ask. We are finding ourselves. We will find ourselves within ourselves. We won't find it externally in the world. Anything external in the world does not define who you are. They are objects of tools or objects or tools of possessions, but they do not define who you are. We look at a rich man traveling in a very luxurious car and we think, oh, he has this car, he must be very happy. That is our perception of life. Have we ever asked that rich man sitting in the car that, are you very happy with this car? And today with how the petrol crisis is in the world, I think so anyone driving a petrol car cannot be happy for a very long time. Because at some point, the prices are going to skyrocket and you will think it was better if I had a cycle or an electric car. This is a big burden on myself. So in the same way, any possession that you have in this world is bound by duality. It is bound to make you suffer in some way or the other. The freedom from suffering is the objective of life. Why should life be suffering? God created this world in an image. The image is of love and harmony. If I cannot live within myself in that same image, then automatically there is friction. Each moment of life is a difficult moment of life. Every morning it's a pain getting up. Why? Because I'm thinking of all the negative thoughts that I'm not supposed to. And that is what is causing my internal self to suffer. But if you forget all that, if you forgive yourself and you move forward, then all changes are possible here and now. But we have to resonate in that universal resonance. Then only change manifests. Then only certain experience manifests. And it happens to everyone. There's a very beautiful story how this a person was waiting outside a shop for his wife to come out. The wife was shopping or getting something and he was sitting outside his car just waiting, looking around. And he sees a homeless person across the street. So he's trying to ignore the person for some time. Then slowly, the voice of consciousness comes in and he's like, you must help this person, don't ignore this. And this person crosses the street and he asks the homeless person, do you need any help?